Aloha! Welcome everybody to another episode of my show. I'm JayDreamerZ. Now today we're going to be talking, today's a holiday. Today's Thanksgiving over here in the United States. I don't know if it's Thanksgiving where you guys are, but don't worry. I'm not going to be talking about the origin of Thanksgiving or the true history of Thanksgiving and whether or not it's evil or good or bad. That's all boring, okay? I'm skipping all that today. We're going to talk about some interesting, weird, esoteric, strange, alternative theories. That's what I like to do. So that's what makes me happy, and I'm going to share that happiness with everybody today. Today we're going to be focusing on SpaceX, Starlink, and a theory that I have that they are not what they seem. I think a lot of people resonate with this. A lot of people have told me that they have their own theories and ideas for things like HARP and SpaceX and the government's messing with the sky. I'm going to share my theory with all of you today. I'm going to take you from SpaceX to the government to secret projects to the elite screwing with our atmosphere and the world, and we're going to relate that to ancient Oblivion, specifically the Annunaki and whatnot. We'll wrap that up towards the end. But right now, what is SpaceX and their Starlink program, right? Well, I'm going to put forth the theory that they are basically nuclear bombs that are floating around just above all of your heads right now. 6,000 of them, little mini nukes floating around up there in the sky. That's a theory that I have, and I'll tell you why, as it relates to the plasma apocalypse, the reoccurring cyclical catastrophe that befalls this world. And I believe that that's what the holidays are all, where they all stem from, where they all root, or where they're rooted. That's their origin, okay? These holidays were times, holy times, set apart times during the year when the people were told to gather together to make sure you had enough light for a few days because there would be no light, to have food, to have provisions. This is doomsday prepping at its finest. So that's what I think about when the holidays roll around. Let me double check the chat, make sure the sound, the audio is good. Where is it? There we go. What's up, everybody? Hey, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, wherever you are. Good to see you all. Lots of cool people in the chat, some new people as well. Welcome to my channel, everybody. Good to see you. All right, cool. Let's jump into things. I believe the audio is good, so we're going to jump right into the presentation. Starlink. All right, now, what is Starlink? You may have seen it. It looks like this, right? It's a string of satellites that's just a line in the sky, and they're moving across the sky. When they first launched them, they put them up there. I'm not going to get into the specifics of how it works and stuff, but I do believe that they're up there in the upper atmosphere where the density is much lower and things can float or whatever. Still under the dome, still under the firmament, as all things here are, but they look like this. They shoot around, they streak across the sky at like 17,000 miles an hour, about 300 to 500 miles above your head. Right? Now, what they will tell you, and what they've told us, is that these string of lights that we see up in the sky, that these are satellites that they want to put into orbit, many hundreds and thousands of them, that probably cost a ridiculous amount of billions and trillions and however many quadrillions of dollars, so that you can use your phone and search the internet, the world across, so that people out on the ocean and on boats can have access to the internet, or people in the desert, you know. If you're lost on your camel out in the Sahara, thank goodness there's Starlink to show you the way, right? These things travel at 17,000 miles an hour. Now, what they tell us is that they're beaming down internet from 500 miles away, traveling at 17,000 miles an hour. I just imagine people with their phone, like, running to catch up to them to try to, like, keep their bars or whatever. Now, ultimately, what they would like to do is cover the sky in these to create brand new constellations, basically a net around the world, a sky net, if you will. And they want the world to have the internet. This is the guise. This is the excuse. This is the facade. This is on the surface. Well, we really, really want to just give internet to the world. Elon just wants to give the internet. Elon's interested in space travel, right? Which to me is, he's what I call a fractal verse traveler. Somebody that is it's not quite an astronaut, but people that plan to leave the world once the firmament does open, and it will open, right? The firmament will recede, the sky will open, there will be a worldwide depressurization, cosmic plasma that's just outside of the dome, ionized hydrogen most likely, will enter in. It'll seep on in. It'll be fiery, wonder-filled serpents slithering about in the heavens, and our atmosphere will become electrically charged. That electricity will come down and do major amounts of damage, changing the entire world as we know it. Terraforming, petrifying things. It's very dangerous. And the elite of this world have set things up so that they are very comfy. Right? I'm not one of the people that thinks like, oh, they're trying to kill us all. We're their workforce. We're their energy. We're their slaves. You know, like it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that, you know, the world's elite just want to kill all the slaves. And then, you know, people will say, well, that's because there's more of us than there are of them. And, you know, they know this. And one day we're all going to snap out of it and rise up. Really? Okay. Well, not the people I'm looking at. Like, on a daily basis. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about hope. I'm all about, I wish people would change. I wish they would rise up and, you know, be empowered and trust in themselves and be self-sufficient and whatnot. I'm not really seeing that though. Okay. So I'm going to relate that to this here in a bit, right? So they've shot these satellites high up into space. My theory is that these are mini nuclear bombs, that these are probably, I mean, imagine, if you will, that they were. We'll say it like that. We're speculating. Imagine, what if these are not what they claim that they are? What if these are not in internet service to give us all internet? Because it's so important that everyone everywhere has it, right? The internet comes from the ground. It comes from cables. It comes from local towers that are sending signals out and stuff, okay? 500 miles away. They get people to believe this kind of stuff because, you know, people believe in Mars, and like there's helicopters. Oh yeah, we put a helicopter on Mars. We put a car on Mars. We've got 4K resolution on Mars. We take pictures all the time and drive around and send our robots up there. So it's easy for people to believe that, yeah, you know, you can get internet from 500 miles away traveling at 17,000 miles an hour and you're going to get your internet or whatever. I don't believe that. You may, if you like, that's fine. But what they would like to do is cover the sky in this sort of net, right? They're going to position these things perfectly. Mostly you won't find many of these or any at all towards the North Pole. There's a good reason for that. Or towards the South. They're mostly around, you know, the equatorial regions in a big, thick line, traveling all in the same direction, right, as everything up there does. Now, let's talk about this. Here's an image of what it looks like currently, right? They have over 6,000 of these things. And you can see up here, they don't really mess with this area up here, right? This area tends to be off limits, right? I mean, people in Alaska don't need internet that bad, I guess, or whatever. None of this adds up. None of it really makes sense to me personally. And here's a giant ice patch at the top of the world, which doesn't exist. But yeah, this is the official narrative. Okay, so if this was Westworld and we're all robots, this is your narrative that you've been given. This is your story that you're supposed to believe in. Me, I'm one of those rebellious robots, okay? Now, let's imagine that these were all nuclear bombs, right? In my theory that the sky will depressurize, that our atmosphere will depressurize as it has in times before. It will depressurize once again. That pressure builds up and it must release. There will be a worldwide atmospheric pressure release, rapid depressurization of the atmosphere, which will touch another domino, and there's many other implications to that. But if that's true, if that happens, the hole in the sky that's created would likely be at the center point, at the axis mundi, directly above it, in that particular region of the firmament, which would create a hole in this area directly above the North Pole, right? Now, that is where Kronos lives. That is where the doom shape will be. That is where the quintessential original star of this world, the northern star, the polar star, Saturn, existed. And it's stationary. It stays in the same spot. It will blow a hole. All the gases that are released will blow a hole through the ice, which is the firmament. It will open up, and not only will things get sucked up and out during this depressurization period, but that cosmic plasma, ionized hydrogen, which is extremely volatile and tends to bond with most anything that it comes into contact with, will come down into this world, causing, along with other things like gamma rays and, other types of cosmic radiation, and it will bond to people, plants, animals, the earth, petrifying trees, and all kinds of things, causing major destructive force as the thunderbolts of the gods enter in and strike from place to place, carving out huge craters that academics now calls impact craters from rocks or whatever, but really it's electrical scarring, canyons, and many other things, mountains as well, right? A huge, major destructive event. Now let's say that this is a secret that the elite knew about, right? And that they are somehow surviving relatives to those who have survived before, who created and instituted these holy days or these holidays for us to gather together at certain times of the year and make sure that we're safe for 10 to 12 days or whatever. Let's say they know about this. Let's assume that they do, just for fun. Now, it makes sense to me that there will be those who are preparing to leave. They're building rockets. They're gathering together and trying to piece back together their antiquitech, their ancient forms of technology, their study, their knowledge. They're gathering all of the artifacts from around the world and relics and important manuscripts and writings that contain important knowledge about this particular event and safe places and things of that nature, so that they can be ready the next time it happens, so that they can help to alleviate all of the destruction that happens as the pressure builds up, leading to an even bigger apocalyptic scenario. So if they are related to prior survivors, and this secret has been passed down from generation to generation, I suppose that they do things like this to try to minimize damage to those who will be left behind, namely their family members who are either not allowed into the heavens, right? They haven't passed whatever the tests they need to pass, or simply they've grown accustomed to this world and their family members will be left behind to continue, which is their hope to continue their rule over all of you, over all of the people, over this structure, this infrastructure, and the system that they have set up that's a well-greased and oiled machine, right? They don't want that destroyed. They don't want that taken away. They don't want to have to start all over from zero after we reach the 0 point and the world resets once more. They want us all, they want people who are their slaves to continue on and to keep that mindset that, that they're in the system and that they report to kings and presidents and all that. They want to pick it back up as quickly as possible so that they can continue to rule, right? All right, so now if let's say these are bombs, right? Nuclear bombs. Why would they put them up in the sky? What are they trying to fight against? It's not nuclear bombs, for a war to drop on some country or whatever. They're already on the same team. There already is a new world order. The world is already ordered according to this new hierarchy, okay? This male-dominant energy that rules the world today that's reciprocated within the bodies of, the elite of the world and the rich of the world and stuff. Excuse me. Let me just double-check the audio real quick. I just want to make sure. We're good? Okay, yes, we are good. Sweet. I see a lot of questions. Good. Hopefully I'll help to answer some of those as we continue on. Now, let's say that these are bombs, okay? What are they trying to do? How are they trying to fight the plasma apocalypse with nuclear bombs positioned up there high in the sky in high altitudes, right? I'll tell you why. It's because of what nuclear bombs do whenever they explode high up in high altitudes. The only thing that they're interested in is the electromagnetic pulse. There's an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. If you detonate a mini nuke up there in space, right, it's going to create a huge electromagnetic pulse, which is basically an extremely strong wave of magnetism, a magnetic wave or a shield that will spread out, right? So if you have all of this plasma that's coming in through a big mouth in the sky or a big opening where Kronos himself is trying to suck everything into his face and eat everybody, right? That's one of many different stories and how it's cartoonified and told. Then you have all this plasma or the spaghetti monster or the purple people eaters or however you want to describe it, right? Cthulhu's tentacles coming down out of the sky, all of these fiery snakes or whatnot, these thunderbolts of the gods. You want to dissipate that. You want to annihilate that and get rid of all of that plasma so that it doesn't hit, especially the northern hemisphere where much of your family has established, right? A way of life. So Kronos opens his mouth and they send bombs up there, right? Now, all of these satellites will naturally actually be drawn to this point as everything is getting sucked up towards the North Pole. They'll spin around, they'll get higher and higher, but it's just like a tornado or a hurricane. Okay, all these satellites are they're gonna come together during worldwide rapid depressurization of the atmosphere. They'll be pulled towards the North Pole, as will many things, right? So they'll all start coming together. Now, if you detonate nuclear bombs, right, then you're basically trying to defeat Kronos. You're trying to keep him from swallowing the Earth, which is reflected to us in our pop culture. Like, this is an example. This is from the video game Fortnite. This was a live event that they had where this huge Kronos type character, Galactus, basically opened his mouth and started sucking everybody up from the ground into the sky to try to eat them. So in order to defeat Kronos, they had all these flying buses called battle buses, equipped with bombs. And a part of your job in the game was to fly your battle bus equipped with explosives into the mouth of Kronos. And you can see his magenta lines representing the plasma that comes out of the heavens. Ionized hydrogen will be more of a magenta red spectrum color whenever the hydrogen is ionized. So this has happened before, right? And it's reflected to us through the Akashic record, through the energetic frequencies and the fields that resonate and bounce all around, including within your minds and our collective subconscious. So these truths, these ancient truths that have been obliterated and become our ancient oblivion, they resonate. They come to the surface all of the time, especially through creative mediums, right? When you start switching over to the right side of the brain instead of the wrong side, or the left side, I should say, even though I do like balance. Here's a clip so you can see kind of how it was. They showed that's basically Galactus, Kronos, however you want to see it, sucking everything in. Now, Galactus, the root of that is Galig or Galaga or Gala, which means milk, this is also symbolic of the Milky Way, the rift, the opening, the split in the firmament in the sky. And this is what happens. Things get sucked up due to Archimedes' principle of all of that fluid getting sucked out of our world. It's replaced by an equally buoyant force. So things just float and they lose their weight and they get sucked up by the winds. All right. So now, is the government any stranger to detonating nuclear bombs in space? No. You would think that would be, I know some of you are on point when it comes to this type of research, but some people don't know about this. Some people don't realize that there have been many nuclear bombs that have been detonated in space. And this first started back in 1957, moving forward, right? 1958, this is Operation Argus. Right? So Jason and the Argonauts, they tend to name all of this stuff after these myths and after these legends. Why? Because those will come back around. What once was considered fantasy, in a reality that is cyclical in nature, that fantasy will become reality once again. And that reality will disappear into the forgotten realms of antiquity, and that will become legends and myths. So Operation Argus, 1958. Now, this is also interesting, right? The Van Allen belts, areas of high radioactivity that we have to get past, those were discovered. Guess when? 1958. Right? It very well may be that these areas of high radioactivity might be from us, blowing up nuclear bombs up there, in between here and the firmament or whatever, creating these radioactive belts. Starfish Prime, another operation, secret government operations and projects and protocols and, secret ops and stuff like that. Starfish Prime. Why would they call it Starfish? Why would they call it Argus? If you put these names together, they start to build context for what's happening. It's just like reading hieroglyphics, okay? Starfish Prime, they call that the prime starfish, the main starfish, the quintessential starfish. The starfish is a word picture for what I call the doom shape, which is referenced in the Colburn Bible, which is this eyeball right here. This is from DC Comics. Okay, there is a bad guy, a world eater, just like Kronos, just like Galactus, right? Starro. Starro is also a world eater in the DC world, okay? And Starro is this gigantic cosmic starfish, which is like so not intimidating when you think about it on the surface level. But what it does is it attaches to the world, just like you see here, right? This should be the North Pole, really. But you have the opening, the eye, the inverted dome, just like I talked about in my last video, where I talked about the eye god and the all-seeing eye and that red eye up there that people think is Niburu or some Venus planet getting too close or whatever. There will be a red circular object up there in the heavens that we can't see right now, but it will be lit up by terrestrial beams of plasma that shoot up from within the earth and light up the sky and light up the firmament and light up the eyes, or the eye up there in the heavens. So people will see this red object, and then around it, this is basically the shape of the jet stream whenever it becomes distorted. Okay, so this is just a weird jet stream. It tends to look like or what do they call that? The polar vortex, right? When the polar vortex is all messed up and in flux, it looks like a starfish that's sitting on top of the world. So that's what that represents. Also just beams of light that come out of the eye or whatever. It's many different forms. That's Starro, right? So Starfish Prime is not named after this comic book, but it's named after the quintessential starfish shape, or the eye in the sky that people see up there in the heavens. All right. It's all related to the firmament. We also have Operation Dominic. Dominic means the Lord, or of the Lord. Operation Dominic, high altitude tests and open sea airdrop tests. This is them blowing up the sky or detonating nukes up there in the upper atmosphere. I don't personally believe that they can actually blow up the dome itself, because that's impossible. Or it's unlikely, okay? Even with all of our technology and stuff, they might have tried, they might be working on it, but as they say, there are certain doors that only God can open, or whatever you believe in, okay? Higher powers. The earth will open her own doors when she's good and ready. So I think they're blowing up nuclear bombs for other reasons, high up there in the altitude. Operation Fishbowl, that would be the roof of our world is shaped like a fishbowl. Basically, that's why they call it that, okay? It's Operation Fishbowl, the Starfish Demos. Here's what it looks like whenever they blow up a nuclear bomb up here. They got gamma rays from the detonation. EMP source region, where the gamma energy converts to downward moving electromagnetic waves. The atmosphere where ionization occurs begins producing electromagnetic waves. Radiated EMP region, which is down here underneath. Systems within line of sight will sustain damage. Basically, this is going to take out all electronics anywhere. Okay, that when they did this once, it had an effect in Hawaii, in Honolulu. Systems were malfunctioning and starting to shut down, and also in New Zealand as well, on the other side of the world. So this EMP from even a mini nuke high up in the sky can reach all the way down here to the ground. I know many people put forth the theory like, oh, these are like secret weapons, and it's Japan, or it's North Korea, or it's Russia, or it's whatever, right? I mean, you can believe that if you'd like to, but I tend to think that they're all on the same team, okay? Just because they have borders and boundaries or whatever, don't think they don't get together and drink together and throw parties together and hang out like best friends and family members. All right? They might bicker amongst each other, but they're on the same team. And you're not on that team. Now, when we look up these high altitude operations and projects, high altitude nuclear explosions, scooch this over just a bit here. How do I scooch this over? Boom. There we go. All right. Damn, hold on. 1 second. I'm a perfectionist. Give me 1 sec. Damn, how do you scooch that over? All right, cool. High altitude nuclear explosions, right? When we look it up, basically the root of why they're doing this, the whole reason is they're interested in the EMP generations, or the electromagnetic pulse generation, the electromagnetic pulse of magnetism that is created from a nuclear explosion. The strong electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, that results has several components. And then they just talk about these huge listen, you don't have to read this whole article. I will sum it up for you in layman's terms. It creates a shield, a magnetic shield, that will protect you from the sentinels, aka the plasma, whenever it comes in and tries to get into Zion, into our world, okay? This will happen, all right? There's all these filaments, plasma filaments that will come in, and they'll be like snakes, and they'll be lit up in the sky. People will think they're pretty and beautiful until they start petrifying people, shocking people, possessing people. Like some of the less powerful ones, they just tend to overwhelm your body's natural energy fields and stuff and amplify them. That's what I call plasma possession. Which many people are starting to become plasma possessed as the world's energy heightens because of all of the release of gases that are happening from within the earth right now. Anyways, so the Sentinels, this is from the Matrix movies, right? These spiders in the sky, grandmother spider, the spiders coming down, the snakes, the squids, squiddies, octopus symbolism, Cthulhu symbolism, right? Tentacle symbolism. All of these things will come down. Now, if you detonate all of your nuclear bombs all at once in that region, in a region close by, right? It will create a magnetic shield. Magnetism repels plasma, okay? So it acts as an actual invisible shield that will repel that plasma that comes in like the spaghetti monster, and then instead of coming down and striking like the thunderbolts of the gods, it will bend around it, and it will go more towards the South Pole areas and stuff. And I imagine it would make the plasma less powerful as it makes it more diffuse, right? So all of these little squiddies, all of these little tentacle monsters, all the red lights that are going to be seen in the sky, they will do less damage in hopes of preserving the system and preserving the slave race that has been created here. They want all the slaves to remain. They don't want you set free. They want slaves having babies so that they can make more slaves and have more people and more subjects and whatnot, right? Now, that's also, I believe, related to these bad boys. Okay, I know also a lot of people are like, they're trying to kill us all. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. They're trying to kill us. They're trying to kill us. Okay, now just take this part with a grain of salt, because I know this particular topic is very close to home and people feel very strongly that they're trying to be killed by, the government or whatever, right? And don't get me wrong, all of these little nanoparticles of shaves of metals and stuff, they have a byproduct. They have a secondary bonus, which is when you breathe them in or drink them or whatever, they tend to make you docile, right? Little, it's not good to drink little shavings of metals and stuff. So on one hand, in a secondary form, they have a benefit to the elite. Means that as you breathe all this in, their slaves will become more and more docile, more and more subservient, more and more likely to obey commands or whatever, right? But when we think about what effect this will have on the electricity that is pouring into this world, this is basically acting as an electrolyte in the atmosphere, right? Which will help to dissipate in the same manner all of that electrical snakes of plasma, serpents of plasma, tentacles of plasma, or whatever. And the plasma will go through and it'll be attracted to all those little tiny particles of metal or metal shavings, and it will spread around instead of having focused beams or lightning strikes hitting major cities and places, right? And that's exactly what we see reflected in the ancient stories. The ancient stories about things like Niburu, the planet of the Annunaki. Why did the Annunaki come here, right? Traditionally, what's the answer to that? Why do they have such an interest in Earth? Well, if you talk to people who study Niburu, or the Annunaki, or Zecharia Sitchin, or watch Ancient Aliens, or whatever, typically what they will say is that they needed gold. They didn't have any gold on Niburu, I guess. I don't know. Or not enough. Right? And our planet has so much gold. So they came here to mine all of this gold, and they needed those gold so they can shave it down and disperse it into their own atmosphere and take all that gold back to Niburu with them. And that way they were going to, shred it up and then create their own little chemical airplanes or whatever and spray all that shavings of gold into their own atmosphere. So that way, whenever their planet is way far away from the sun on their 3,600 year orbit or whatever, and they get really cold because they're far away from, their light source or whatever, that their planet will be insulated. That all that heat will just be trapped for thousands of years because of the gold, not allowing the heat to be released back into space or whatever. Now, I don't believe in all of that, but I believe there are grains of truth in those types of stories. What if, or let's suppose, that this is what they were doing, right? That Niburu, right? That the Annunaki, that those beings, if they were looking for gold, that they wanted to put those shavings of tiny nanoparticles of gold into the atmosphere to keep their world from being destroyed by electricity from above, just like we seem to be doing now, or humans or the elite seem to be doing now to protect their slave class, to protect the system that they have set up, to help, make it easier for themselves and their slaves to survive in a plasma apocalypse scenario, right? So in reality, Niburu, this is the doom shape. There should be a little circle right here in the middle too. But you'll see this in the sky. Okay, this is the inverted dome at the apex of the firmament. It will light up its true color, which is red because of the plasma on the other side of it, and the plasma that will seep through out of the hole. There will be a hole right here in the middle. It'll look like an eyeball up there in the sky. Okay, and plasma will come and it'll conform to that dome. It'll bend around like a giant spider or whatever. And this is the place of the crossing. This is the place where this is the Sipapu. This is the star gate. This is the pole star, the actual physical star, the only star that there really is as far as a physical object. All the other stars are little, points of focus, basically, that are cast as the light passes through the dome. So that's what this is. This is the place of transition. This is the star gate, right? And then the Fractalverse travelers, there's other alternate Earths out there that have their own versions of Starlink and NASA and all that, whatever, SpaceX and all that stuff, and they become space travelers. They become Star Trek, basically. This is like everything that you're shown in Star Wars, Star Trek, all that fiction, that's real. And that it will become real once again. It's just cartoonified. It's in story form. So the Annunaki come to mine gold. Now, the reality behind that, I believe, is, and this is just sort of a side note, is that there are otherworldly beings, giants, that come down. They're basically immortal in comparison, or they live to be like 1,000 years old. Dr. Jasmine in Japan, hey, welcome to my channel. Good to see you. When they land here and the dome goes back up, their lifespans begin. Okay, that are no longer immortal because the conditions in this world change and the energy starts to dwindle and stuff. So they start aging, they start getting older and stuff. So they're not looking for gold per se, but the ancient word gold in Proto-Indo-European was arg, and it meant shining. It was rocks and crystals that shined, not those that reflected sunlight or light, but those that innately had light and gave off their own light. These were radioactive materials that were not going through radioactive decay, and therefore they were not a danger, but they were actually a proponent and a benefit to people's health and jump-starting cellular regeneration. And they used these magic rocks and crystals and stuff. So that's what they were looking for, I believe. They were not looking for gold like how we have it today. They were looking for shiny metallic substances that were energized by terrestrial beams of light that shoot up through cavernous openings in the earth, right? Now, all of those things that they haven't found, those are what you call now radioactive materials, and those are helping to bring us into and closer to the apocalypse as they create more and more gas and heat and stuff within the earth as time goes on. So yeah, that's the Annunaki looking for gold, etc. And I think that's pretty much the presentation. So just to recap, we talked about SpaceX. Okay, these are Fractalverse travelers, as is NASA, as is all the other ones, right? My theory is that they are putting bombs up there into the heavens, and that they have already practiced with them. They have recorded their electromagnetic pulses, and that they are doing this so that they can create a net up there in the sky to hopefully dissipate the amount of damage that will happen during what I call the plasma apocalypse. For more information about that, check out my book, Ancient Oblivion, The Plasma Apocalypse, and Ancient Oblivion, Return to Hyperborea, all available through my website. If you'd like to get some merch and autographed copies and stuff, or you can purchase it off of Amazon. And if you want more visuals and audio examples, check out my website, JayDreamerZ.com. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your holiday. And until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.